Hi everyone and welcome to another video. Today we're actually going to be starting a brand new content series called Solo Queue Concepts, and for episode 1 we're going to be covering recall timings. So you may ask, Curtis, why exactly are you doing a brand new content series and how is it going to differ from your other content? So for those of you who are familiar with my channel, you may know that I do a lot of long form content. A lot of stuff that is very in-depth, very heavy to read, a lot of slides, and it can be quite overwhelming. So I really wanted to contrast that sort of content with a lot more practical, example-heavy stuff, literally taking clips from my solo queue games and just riffing off a few of those examples and really hearing my process or my thought process, sorry, and my philosophy on the game. And there are a lot of concepts out there that you guys have told me from the Discord community and in the YouTube comments that you want to see more of. So if there's any of these concepts that you really want me to make a video on, in today guys we're just starting with recall timings, so if you want to hear more about maybe mid-game macro stuff, CSing, trading, warding, jungle tracking, team fighting, objectives, whatever it is, doesn't matter how simple or how advanced, I can cover it within this content series. And because of how easy this is to edit and just make, given that it's just taking clips from my solo queue games, I probably can do this quite often and make this maybe potentially even twice a week. But again, I'm hoping this is kind of going to fill the gaps between the time that it takes to make my guides, because my guides take so long to make because I try to get every little bit of information possible and make it, as clean to watch as possible. So hopefully you enjoy this new content series. Any feedback is greatly appreciated. And like I said, we're going to be starting with recall timings because I get a lot of these questions, guys. How do I know if this recall is good or not? How do I know when to recall in general? How do you tempo base? What exactly do you get from a tempo base? And when do you reset in mid-game, etc., etc.? So I'm hoping I can cover all of these questions and on top of that even more. And by the end of it, you should be a master, or at least understand the process in which you need to follow to improve your recall timings and what to look for in the review. And note, guys, before we get into the specifics, you need to understand every single recall timing that you do, there is always an inbuilt opportunity cost. There is always advantages and disadvantages of recalling at that specific time. There's always trade-offs. So we're going to look at that in depth today and really talk about what were the trade-offs? What did we get for this recall timing? And if you don't understand that, and if you're not assessing what the trade-offs were, you're just going to be scraping the surface. It's incredibly important you understand this concept, because as you've probably heard me talk a lot about in my videos, it's all the small things that add up to create a favorable advantage in the future. So let's start straight in, guys. So the way I want to go through these clips, guys, is show you the lead up to the specific recall and show you what happens after as a result. And then we can rewind, knowing that we have a bit of context to break down and assess, okay, was this recall good or bad and why that was the case? What variables should I have considered or what I didn't consider in this moment? And then so you guys in your own review, when you look at a similar situation, you can break down, oh, okay, that actually was a bad recall or that was a really good recall. So I'm giving you guys the toolkit to be able to review your own games. So for the sake of this one here, I'm actually playing Orianna into Syndra. And what do we see? Vayne and Senna opted in for a 2v2 bot, and the enemy jungle Elise ends up showing up there and bullying them off. So they actually got a kill 2v2. So what do we know? I see the enemy jungle bot. I know my jungler's doing a full clear, sorry, from top to bot. I actually have no corrupting pot stacks left. I just used my trinket and my pink ward. I have 1100 gold and I have no TP. Also, we know that Dragon, I believe, was coming up in about 40 seconds, 50 seconds, something like that. And I know this Syndra, sorry, also doesn't have corrupting pot. So we're both two mid laners with no corrupting pots. And I also have blue buff though, which is a pretty big advantage over this Syndra. So my Vayne and Senna are recalling at the moment because they have no resources and probably want to spend that gold. And my Olaf's actually on Krugs right now. So I end up staying. And then I see Elise walk over that ward, because I have to respect, because I knew Elise was in the river there. And now I'm trying to get this next wave out, because I knew in the moment here I probably had to start recalling, because I saw my team had actually reset, and Dragon's coming up very soon. And then I end up going around the corner here and recalling. So I remember in this game I thought my recall was fine, and then when I reviewed it I actually realized this is a really bad recall. Now let's break down why, and actually as a result, just to give a bit more context, Olaf and the Vayne and the Senna are trying now to contest this dragon. Kayle ends up TPing down, but Syndra's there first because she hasn't recalled yet. Although she has no mana anyway, it's still the premise is that I'm not at this fight, which is not good for me. So let's break this down. Why is this a good or bad recall? So what do we know? First piece of information that I did not consider in this game was what my bot lane was doing. I was tunneling on my jungler and I wasn't considering my bot lane. And I wasn't actually considering dragon at all. I didn't consider dragon until it was too late. So, few things here. I should know in this situation, I should know that as soon as Olaf's doing this, top to bot clear, and I see my bot lane just got a kill, and I see Vayne's resources being this low, this is a sign that everyone's going to recall right now. And what do we know? After this wave, the next wave is actually a cannon. So I should just be all-inning on this wave right now and just insta-recalling. So my recall will actually be synced with the rest of the team. Then I would have been able to get back in time for this dragon. I'd be able to go mid, get the wave out, and then be there for that dragon fight. Now, because I haven't thought about dragon timing, I didn't think about my bot lane recalling. I did think about the jungle's location because I was trying to time my recall roughly with my jungler, and I knew that my jungler was getting Krugs here anyway, so the timing would be decent. But I was not thinking about my bot lane or dragon at all. Now, you may ask, you may say, Curtis, but it's not really a big deal, is it? But it actually is, because I would have been able to get a really good recall off because Syndra has no blue buff. Her mana pool is not big enough to reliably, and she has no demats. It's actually really hard for this Syndra to get out this cannon wave. And when I'm staying for this cannon wave, what is it actually doing? It doesn't give me any gold that would change the item that I'm going to buy anyway. The only benefit of me staying in lane for this extra wave is that it actually allows me to get mercs, because I actually get in base by 10:30 when my boots actually upgrade, so I could spend that gold. If I had base before, I wouldn't have been able to get my mercs. I actually would have just probably got a blasting wand and a null magic mantle, which is still fine. I think, to be honest, I think it's still great because I would be there for that fight. And it's an infernal dragon. My bot lane's winning. I need to be back on the map at the same time as our team is looking to pressure and do something, especially when your team is ahead. If my team was even and I wasn't even sure we're going to contest this dragon anyway, and it was a pretty slow-paced game, then it probably is not going to be a big deal. But, this situation here, I'm very strong. I've got 90 CS at 10 minutes. I'm 1-0-1. I need to be with my team. Quite easily here, yes, I get the wave out, and yes, the recall's decent, but look what we see already. Vayne and Senna are already coming back on the map. Olaf is already coming back on the map. And I have to even wait in here for a few seconds even to upgrade my mercs. It's just way too greedy. And here, who knows? Maybe Kayle doesn't have TP and they actually lose that 3v3 and they end up getting the dragon. I don't know who gets the dragon here. Yeah, they end up getting the dragon here. So because I hadn't recalled, they were able to get that dragon, and a few of them were able to escape here. So we probably could have got way more kills as well. We end up getting 2. Probably could have got a triple kill here. So I thought this was a really interesting recall. This is just the first example, guys. I'm trying to get the creative juices flowing. And the last thing I want you guys to think about here, the other thing I want you to think about, sorry. And the point I'm trying to get across in this one, recall timings, there's always trade-offs. Now, depending on the game state and the champion you're playing really depends on how greedy or selfish you can be. I'm playing a carry, but I feel like right now the game's not specifically played around me because everyone else is fed as well. If I'm the only fed member, say I'm like my team's losing but I'm the only fed member, then I would probably be a little bit more selfish and do what's best for me, even though this late recall is really good for me because I get my mercs, which is a great buy. But even then, it's still shooting my team in the foot and we're giving up a dragon potentially for it. But the other thing I wanted to think about here is corrupting pots. I'd had no corrupting pots. If I had corrupting pots, I actually probably could have stayed in this lane for a while and then actually stayed longer and then actually contested this dragon with my team without recalling and then recalling after. But even then, that would be quite sketchy. And the reason that's sketchy is because if my team had all recalled, after they got the dragon, they're probably going to be looking to do things. My bot lane's probably going to be looking to pressure. The jungler could even look to invade off the back of that. But again, I'm not going to be there. Their mid lane is going to be back reset over me. And then it can get a little bit sketchy. My jungler can get caught, that sort of thing. And in solo queue, guys, we know There's no communication going on. Everyone's doing their own thing. It's like 5 individuals. No one's actually playing as a team. So when you're grouping, it's one of those things that, yes, it may not specifically change the specific instance you're in, but if you run that experiment, or you use that principle, apply that principle to the next hundreds and hundreds of games, you'll find that you'll get in more favorable situations from following this fundamental, from being grouped with your team as much as possible, because Oriana wants to be with her team as much as possible. So I thought this was a really good starting example here. Let's actually look into another example. So in this example here, I'm actually playing Fizz, and it's getting into mid game. It's around 15 minutes, and the dragon at this point is coming up in a minute. So I want to shove in the bot lane here just to get the waves pushing out. My team's looking for a bit of skirmish mid. They already got a pick, but they're trying to disengage right now and recall for this dragon. So I'm thinking in this moment, you'll see, I need to time my recall to give myself plenty of time to be at this fight way in advance. So I get this wave out, and then instead of staying on the map, even though theoretically I could actually stay, given that I don't get an overly big base, but it's like, why not? It's probably going to be a pretty big fight. Dragon's coming up in 30 seconds. Even if I stay, my entire team's recalled anyway, so it's going to be really hard for me to make a play anyway. And even if I look for a pick, the chances are that's just throwing the game anyway, because I know we're ahead. If we play the front to back fight, or at least I play with my team and come in from the side, it's going to be favorable. So I might as well have the maximum amount of AP for this fight. So I end up recalling now, so I know I've got 30 seconds. I can come back. I can buy whatever I want to buy, whether it's a blasting wand, Ether Wisp, or whatever. I end up getting a blasting wand, and I come back. So the great thing about this, my entire team's recalled. I've coming back on the map at the same time with them. And even if I had stayed here, look at this, I wouldn't have been safe to shove out this next wave. I probably would have had to chill back here anyway, because all my team's recalled. I wouldn't have had vision. And how do I know where the enemy jungler is or anything? They could easily pick me in the side, or like force me off. And then, there'd be no point in me staying on the map regardless. So I come back with the team. And now I end up getting a pick in a second onto this Nidalee. Beautiful. Get a pick. Chase down in a second. Bang. E over this wall. End up cleaning up the team. Beautiful. I'm just playing with my team. Not really doing anything too special here. Now, in this moment, let's see what happens. So everyone, we end up like nearly acing them. We get all 4 of them. So I end up, instead of helping him with the dragon, I decide to push out the side wave because it's a lot more efficient. It's a lot more efficient in terms of time. They don't need any help. So I've actually got plenty of gold. I've got my 10 stacks of Dark Seal. I could easily upgrade that into a Magi's, which would probably be the best choice right now. Now, what do we see? Yasuo, I don't know if he stole the... Did he steal the red? Yasuo stole the red, or... Well, no, he didn't. He just walked around. Echo's basing. My support base. Is that Riven? That Riven base as well. So the entire team's looking to base. So in this moment, I'm thinking, well, what do I do? Do I recall with the team? Do I stay for the next wave? Do I want to get this tower, knowing that I actually have quite a bit of time to get this tower myself? And I end up deciding to stay. So let's break down what the benefits and the downsides of this specific decision is. I end up staying on the map here. My entire team's recalled. And here I end up... Do I stay for the next wave? I end up staying for the next wave. Getting that one. Beautiful. And now the enemy mid laner, so it was actually a mid laner Aphelios, end up getting the wave. And because he has such great wave clear, he's going to push me all the way back. And look at this Aphelios. And this is what they do in higher elo, guys. They know that I have no tempo. They know that I need to recall. I have no mana. I have a lot of gold. I've overstayed on the map. He's going to push me all the way back to punish me. And look at this. This Aphelios gets the wave, and he's always pushing out. He even uses a blue trinket here in a second to spot out where I'm recalling. Goes all the way up here. And because this guy, I've overstayed on the map and decided not to recall, my entire team is looking for plays. They're getting Rift Herald. They're pushing deep. All of these things. And Aphelios has pushed me all the way back to tier 2 here. And look out, and it doesn't really change anything anyway. I could have actually got my my Magi's anyway. It doesn't really change anything anyway. It's not a big game-changing item or amount of gold that I got. So in hindsight, in the moment I thought this was okay because I'm like, we're ahead. I can afford to be greedy, which is the case. When you're ahead, you can afford to be a little bit more greedy because the enemy can't really make as many proactive plays. But in hindsight, this tower doesn't do anything. I can already get my Magi's after this wave anyway. I would rather sync my recall with my jungle right here. My support's coming back out on the map as well. And then get back onto top side. Get my Riven going bot. We're going to be playing for this Rift Herald. This tower's going to fall naturally anyway. And then if I can push all the way deep, group with my team, constantly look for picks, get things done. What does this tower do in the grand scheme of things? The amount of gold it doesn't give me, in terms of opportunity cost, I'm missing out on so many opportunities to be with my team here. So this is again, in my opinion, another bad recall in the grand scheme of things. It didn't lead to anything poor to happen. But again, this is the sort of review you need to do in your own reviews, is to play the devil's advocate. Not everything you do is perfect. Alright, even me, if I win, just because you win doesn't mean you did the most optimal play. The enemy just could have done worse plays, or maybe they just didn't capitalize on that. Or maybe they didn't have the tools to capitalize on your misplay. And it's, again, these forms of bad habits that you need to weed out to have reliable success over the long run of a lot of games. So in this clip here, guys, I'm actually playing Twist of Fate into Orianna, and this is a very common situation where the enemy you verse actually take cleanse, whereas you take TP. And I say this a lot in the Discord. Say, guys, if you have TP and they take cleanse or ignite, you can always tempo base, recall, come back and lock them in the lane or create a really favorable situation. So what I want to do is break down what I do, what does it look like, and what do I get on the back end of this. So here it's very early on. I'm getting close to my catalyst. My goal right now is I want to find a way to burn these 2 pots before I recall. So then by the time I recall, Orianna's going to have no sustain, and then it's going to be very, very easy for me to create an advantage. So you'll see in a second, I begin to trade a little bit more heavy here. So I'm getting the wave out. I'm getting very, very close to my catalyst here. Getting the wave out, beautiful. End up using an empowered blue card there, using my DMAT on the range creeps. Nothing too special here. Beautiful. Bang, bang, bang. So, right now, I dip out of vision, I heavy trade for the wave, use all my mana, I have no corrupting pots, beautiful. I've got my 1100 gold, and I end up deciding to buy my catalyst. Now, in this situation, Orianna could have easily recalled, but if she chose to recall, I would have actually been able to deny an entire wave from Orianna, so I would be considerably far ahead of this Orianna. And worse, and then on top of that, I'm going to get level 6 way before Orianna, and then I'm going to be able to consistently push her in and then roam regardless. So a lot of players won't really know that, because you need to be very, very decisive in order to understand what you need to do in this situation. But this Orianna messed up, didn't recall. I come back with TP, and then I'm able to heavy trade onto this Orianna, knowing that I have 3 corrupting pots anyway. And look what happens. Now she's stuck. She has no TP. She has no resources. I've got full resources. I've got a full item on top of her. And I'm in an extremely, extremely good position. And now all I should be doing is just hard shoving the wave. Constantly hard shove. And the only way out is for the jungler to come and help and, be a form of a support to actually help get the wave out. But in this case, for junglers in this situation, they know that their mid lane is actually really, really weak. So if the enemy jungle comes, they're actually kind of screwed. So I don't even need to flash. I chill and use my gold card here. We end up nearly killing this Skarner. He just escapes and whatever. Still, I'm completely fine. I've still got a whole nother 2 corrupting pots here. I'm about to hit 6. This Orianna stayed in lane for way too long on a low HP. I end up flash stunning and getting both of them on the back end with my Q. Beautiful. So that was 1 recall leading to a very favorable situation. Now here, I was going to recall, but I don't. And I think this is a mistake though. So what do I say? I've already got enough gold for my blasting wand. Getting this wave really doesn't do much. I mean, I end up getting this wave, and I think it denies a bit of farm from this Orianna. But I actually think this is a really bad recall. Because look at this. What does that recall actually achieve? All right, I know my Hecarim's going to recall any second. I know that Orianna's got 10 seconds on her base, and she's going to be coming back up. So if I start my recall now, I'm going to have 2 seconds, roughly 2 seconds of tempo on top of Orianna. Actually, it's probably going to be even, because I'm going to have to heal in base anyway. So it's probably going to be very, very even tempo, because I believe a recall is 8 seconds. Yeah, it recalls 8 seconds. So here is actually a perfect example of not being decisive on a recall. Here, what information I didn't take in was that this wave was actually a cannon wave. If I knew this wave was a cannon wave, I probably would have recalled knowing that it would take me too long to shove this wave out, and I wouldn't have been able to really deny any creeps. And if we actually fast forward here, I get this wave, and I'm pretty sure Oriana misses what, one creep, probably one creep, because what happens, it always targets the first melee and then it actually targets the cannon, so it'll probably only miss one creep, which is again not worth it. And look how much tempo Oriana has on me now. Oriana can catch that, push this wave out, get plenty of vision control, and for no reason I could have locked her in lane, actually prevented Oriana from getting any vision out, and she would have been again pinned under a tower. So what happens here, I actually see a top play happen, end up swapping to Ghost in a second. This Garen ends up greeding. I know this Garen was going to greed because the plate was getting low and he saw this really low Hecarim. This Hecarim was doing a really great job at baiting this Garen in. Then I ult in, end up chasing down this Garen here. Oriana's going mid and still catching mid wave. Now, what you need to do in these situations, guys, is tell your top laner in high elo. It's quite common knowledge that they should just go mid and catch the wave while you push out top, because that's a lot more efficient. It's a lot more efficient for me to stay here, shove out this next wave, rather than, just get these 3 creeps, then walk mid, and then Wukong go top, because then we're going to miss so many creeps mid if we do that. So in terms of overall XP and CS, it's much better for you guys to temporarily swap and just catch each other's waves. So while I'm here, end up getting this wave out, and knowing that I have enough gold for my Rod of Ages, I end up recalling after this straight away. So I actually could have, in theory, just stayed on the map. I didn't have to recall after this play. But because Roa is such a big item spike, it is worth me getting as soon as possible, because I want to get it stacking. But in an alternate reality where my item here doesn't really get me much, it could just be better for me to just walk straight mid. Because in the process, I could get a pink ward in the river, clear any wards, and just stay on the map. And another little concept, guys. If you don't need to recall, you shouldn't. In terms of, if you don't need to actively spend gold, and it's not necessarily a free recall because the enemy's actually alive, and you have plenty of resources, you have plenty of corrupting pots, that sort of thing, you already have wards, then it's not advised, because again, we know every single time you recall, the enemy has an opportunity to respond in a differing way. So there's something for you guys to really dwell on. And I thought this was a great example of showing what a tempo reset can do for you, and what it can lead to in the future by playing that tempo game. And now, and as you see in this VOD, I've only laned against Oriana for the first 5 levels. And then after that, for the past 3 levels on top of that, I've literally haven't interacted with Oriana anymore, which is exactly what is great for Twist of Fate and not good for Oriana at all, because Oriana is better in the 1v1, but I'm better for the map. Now, a few minutes forward in the same game, it's the same Oriana, I'm still playing Twist of Fate here. A similar situation has arisen where she's stuck in lane with no mana, no resources, no pots, and she has no blue buff. She needs to spend her gold. So, I talk about this a lot, she ends up using her ultimate to clear the wave. You can do the same on Victor, you can do the same on Annie. It's the same concept, tempo recalling, coming back, because this Oriana knows if she hesitates and gets this wave in slowly, then I'm going to have a lot of time to roam. I'm going to deny her a lot of CS, and it's going to be really, really hard for Oriana to stop me from roaming. So, look, if we look now, the minions are actually just coming out of base now. She's already backing off. She knows that I'm probably going to chase her as well. So, look what I do. I walk all the way up, trying to, because it looks like she actually tried to recall here, but she saw me move up, so she's probably backed all the way around the corner just so I don't stop her. And this is something you guys should do. If you know the enemy is desperate to recall, a lot of the time in low elo, they take really greedy recall locations because no one really punishes them. Sometimes they'll just recall here, around this corner, or they'll literally just sit here, in which you can go all the way here, you can stand here and actually interrupt them. And that can be really devastating for the enemy, because now they've actually not only used their ultimate or all their mana on the wave, you can lock them in lane for an extended period of time and deny more CS. So Oriana ends up doing a really good job in terms of recall location. I try to look for him, but he's recalled all the way back there. So I end up staying for the next wave because I know this Oriana is 100% recalled, so I can potentially deny some CS here and then do another recall myself, knowing that I have no more corrupting pods My jungle looks like he's probably going to recall in this situation as well. And then I just get a recall myself here. And I don't go for plates here because, again, I don't have much mana, although that's not really a big problem on TF. But my jungle's not really in position to do anything. He's quite low. Rift Herald's actually gone. And I have a lot of gold to spend, actually. So it's actually a decent recall timing for me. And notice, again, I try not to do a greedy recall, even though I probably could have. But I'm actually scarred because in high elo games, sometimes the enemy jungle comes mid just to interrupt your recall to get tempo for their mid laner, which is something you can do as a jungler. So here, Orianna ends up getting back, misses, I believe, 2 creeps, gets the CS for the XP for the 3rd one. So I just thought that could have been a way worse situation for Orianna, but she did a great job at using ultimate to generate a little bit of tempo in that lane. And now she's already back in lane. I'm back here. I've only denied 2 CS. So it's actually not bad at all for Orianna, given the desperation of this situation. Now, a little bit later on in the game here, I end up just using my Twisted Fate ult bot, getting a double kill here for my bot lane. Beautiful. Now, in this situation, I do have a bit of gold. I can easily turn that into an Ether Wisp or get a Blasting Wand or whatever. But instead of recalling, because I actually had 3 Corrupting Pots, I've used now 2 of them. I'm coming back, and the reason I'm not just recalling now and coming back onto the map is because things are happening. Now, if there is plays happening on the map, look, my bot lane is still staying in lane, looking to get that tower. My jungle is actually killing the enemy mid laner. Wukong looks like he's roaming up. It looks like action is probably going to happen somewhere on this top side of the map. So I want to get there because my TP is actually coming up in a few seconds, although I probably could have recalled and TP'd. But I felt like I wanted to get back onto the map and do something. I didn't want to just recall again for no real reason. So I'm able to clear a pink here on the back end, and now because I didn't recall and I'm already at mid lane, I'm able to shove this wave out and deny this Orianna a lot of creeps here and actually get 2 whole plates. So I end up getting 2 whole plates, which is very, very important in solo queue. If you can get those first 3 plates before you use Rift Herald, it's extremely valuable because Rift Herald guarantees you to break two plates. So you ideally want to use the Rift Herald on the last remaining 2 plates of a tower because the first 3 plates are really easy to kill, but the last 2 plates are really hard to kill. They're very, very tanky. So ideally you get 3 plates on your own, then you call for Rift Herald when you got 2, and then you can break it. So I just thought that, nothing really happened here, but in terms of my decision making, in terms of when to recall, if I feel like a play is going to happen or something is happening, I hesitate to recall. I don't really want to recall. I only like to recall in moments where I feel like nothing's happening. Either my jungle's clearing, my team's recalling, or we just made a play and we're just coming off the back of that. We need to spend gold, that sort of thing. So if you don't, again, the rule I'm trying to get across here, if you don't need to recall, don't do it. Only view recalling as a luxury and always understand that there's a trade-off. So that's, again, I'm going to be constantly reiterating that same message throughout this entire video. So for the last clip of this specific video where I'm playing Twisted Fate into Orianna, my jungler end up getting the dragon. Rift Herald's coming up in about 1:30. I know I shouldn't be bot side anymore. So ideally, all I'm trying to do now is get 1 or 2 more waves out, sync my recalls with the rest of the team so I can come back on the map at the same time. Because again, I don't want to be pushing out all the way top when my jungle and my AD carry and support are doing something else completely. Otherwise, it's just going to be inefficient anyway. So I might as well stay here, get these next 1 or 2 waves, because I know my AD carry and support have to stay for that 1 more wave mid anyway. They can't recall yet. And I know I have plenty of safety here, so I end up getting this wave. And then backing up and recalling, knowing that my AD carry and support have to recall. I have a bit of gold to spend. It's not too bad. So I end up recalling. I can't even get my Lich Bane anyway. It's not a big deal. But now, look at this. Now I'm coming out on the map. It's a minute till Rift Herald. I have plenty of time to shove out the wave top in order to be there for that potential fight. My AD carry and support are literally coming out with me side by side. And now we can look for a play at the exact same time. And then as a result here, Ashe is looking to throw an ultimate down the mid lane. I'm pinging that I have ultimate as well. Ashe ends up using ultimate here, nailing this Lucian, and I end up going up on the back end. But then, I didn't know he had cleanse, so he ends up cleansing it. So anyway, specifics aside, I just thought this was a really solid example of syncing your recall with the time, syncing your timing for recalls, which can lead to a potential play opportunity. Maybe this play would have worked in some alternate reality where Lucian didn't have cleanse, and then we could have got mid tower off of it, and then it's a completely different game. So I hope you're starting to see the trend of what some of the potential advantages actually syncing your recall with the rest of the team. So in this clip here, guys, I'm actually playing Galio into Kayle, and as we know, you should be getting a lot of early pressure in this matchup. Now, In this specific example, I knew that the next wave coming was a cannon, so I knew I had a bit of a window to roam. I also panned my camera top and I saw that Rise had a big wave building into this Aatrox, and Volibear was pathing topside to potentially look for a 2v2 or even look for a dive. A 2v2 skirmish ensues. I end up flashing over and getting a double kill for my team, which was really, really good. Now, I knew, just looking at the situation, the wave was a cannon. Kale is really bad at clearing waves in the early game. I'm very close to my 1050 gold, which is a big, big item spike for me and one of my core items. Once I actually get this revolver, I feel incredibly strong. My burst is out of this world, so I really want to base on 1050 gold. If I had something like 800 gold, I can still base for a Dark Seal Amplifying Tomb or something like that, or even just an Amplifying Tomb in a pink or whatever gold I was on. I think that would still be better than walking all the way mid, farming for a little bit longer, and then getting my 1050 gold. Because again, I really want to be pushing the pace of the game anyway, and making this lane being played really, really fast, so Kale can't really play the slow scaling game. So I end up deciding to recall here, knowing that I'm so close to my 1050 gold anyway, and it's going to take Kale so long to get the wave out. So I think this decision was correct, and if we look what happens, it takes Kale a ridiculously long time to get the wave out. So I think I was correct in my assumption here. Now, end up TPing a little bit late here. I feel like I could have TP'd and just bought while I was TPing, but end up dematting that, getting a really good trade onto this Kale, forcing Kale to be super, super low and have to recall. So I know, again, I'm going to have another window already in this example. I already know that I'm going to have another window to make a proactive play, whether it's to get a deep ward, to get some river control, even look for another roam. All I want to do is continually push the wave out now to push the pace of this game. So you'll see in a second, get the wave out. I get some vision down. Beautiful. Get the next wave out. Now, you'll see in a second, I notice that Rise, I pan my camera top, and I see that Rise has another big wave building into this Aatrox. So I start making my way up topside, knowing that this is the winning side. I want to complement the winning side again. If I've already ganked a lane, I want to re-gank the winning side, because most likely they have no sums, or they're going to be down in items, which is going to be really easy for me to kill. So I end up using the blast cone, going for another player. I see Echo on bot jungle, so I'm all good. And Kale ends up TPing. Now this Kale ends up TPing before she's even recalled. She actually hasn't even recalled and bought yet. So she's literally been that desperate to stop this dive that she ends up TPing to this play. So right now I have a decision. Do I want to myself walk back mid, get the next wave out, then recall? Or potentially stay in lane for quite a long time, knowing that right now my bot lane's actually recall coming out of base. I have 400 gold, so I can easily get a Dark Seal, or I can even just get a Ruby Crystal with 400 gold. Yes, I do have 2 Corrupting Pots, so it's not a big deal if I stay in lane. But I feel like in here, given that I want to push the pace of the game, recalling would be completely fine, knowing that KO doesn't have TP anyway, so I can just recall now, have a bit of tempo, walk back, and come back with an extra item, and make sure I'm spending all my gold. But here, Ryze ends up pinging on the way, and I get kind of baited into thinking that we can go for this dive. Now, what I didn't consider here was that KO is actually level 6. I didn't know that KO was level 6. So I end up failing this dive, and I end up just walking out. So nothing bad happens. We end up getting the KO lot anyway, but it was very, very sketchy, and I should have just recalled there anyway. But anyway, now I've got no Corrupting Pots. I'm incredibly low. This would be a perfect opportunity for me to recall, knowing that Kale's going to be recalling right now anyway, so our tempo is going to be basically matched. So she's not going to get any advantage, and I'm not going to get any advantage. But for some reason, because I'm maybe not thinking about that, I don't know, maybe I'm tunneling on getting the wave out, denying CS, I don't know, or whether I'm autopiloting, I'm not sure. I end up walking mid without even looking at the size of the wave, not even looking about when the next wave is coming out of base, and just going mid. I don't know why I did this. So what I did, end up going mid here, trying to get all the CS. And as a result, I got to get the next wave in as well. End up staying for the next wave as well. And now KO has a lot of tempo, comes back. Now what is this going to do? Well, it's actually going to allow KO to shove out, get vision control, clear pinks if we had pinks in the river. And actually slow down the pace of the game, because if I were to come back and match that TP, be in the lane at the same time, there's no way Kayle would have been able to walk in river and do anything. I would be just able to constantly push Kayle in, always control the river, never really give her an inch. But now she gets to get an entire cannon wave in, deny me a little bit of CS, and get some vision out, which you wouldn't have been able to do this anyway. And yes, this is good in the sense that I'm syncing my recall with my team, but it feels super underwhelming because it's so early in the game anyway. We can't really make many proactive side lane dives, and it's just too early. I actually value recalling all the way back here. So I think this was a result of autopiloting. And yes, I don't get punished because I'm versing a KO and it's not a big deal. But you can easily see in another alternate reality where I'm versing a different champion and I autopilot or for some reason don't recall when I should have, it's going to give the enemy much more or potential openings or potential windows to make a proactive play. So I thought this was just a really good example of just one good recall leading to a decent play and then one sloppy recall due to autopiloting or whatever reason. I actually can't tell you that. So in hindsight, guys, if I were to review this game, I looked at this. When I looked at this, I'm thinking to myself, yes, this didn't lead to anything bad. But again, how I came to the conclusion that this was a poor recall is that it's slowing down the pace of the game. I'm giving Kayle room to do things when I don't necessarily need to. And on top of that, guys, actually one very important point, getting this extra gold in mid-wave doesn't do anything. I still end up getting the same amount of items. Look, after all this wave, I still end up getting a ruby crystal and a pink ward. That 285 gold doesn't allow me to buy anything anyway. If it was a big item purchase mid, then yes, maybe this would be a decent overstay, because then the loss of tempo would be somewhat compensated by a massive item spike that I got. But that's just not the case. Given my gold, I can still get my ruby crystal and my pink ward anyway. So at the end of the day, not recalling was just an absolute shit show. Very, very, very poor decision by me. So just a few minutes forward in the same game, still playing Galio into KO here. We end up killing this KO mid lane from a roam, and then Volibear and Set end up going for this dragon. Now, what do we know? We know that KO is coming up in 9 seconds. So again, ideally, like I said before, I want to be either matching my recall, so I'm not really giving KO any room to do anything or farm or get vision, etc. So ideally, if I don't need to help with dragon, I shouldn't. So in this situation, instead of overstaying for plates, I see Echo here, completely fine. And I'm just recalling, using a ward. I know they don't need me. I know I should be getting on the map as soon as possible, so KO can't really do anything. So I'm really happy with that. I can still get my Proto Belt. Maybe if I needed one more wave for Proto Belt, I'd probably stay because Proto Belt is such a big item spike. But because I already had plenty of gold here, I want to push the pace of the game. If I can recall, get the item, I should. If I don't need to help, I shouldn't help. So I come back mid here. Coming back to, I think I come back to mid lane at a pretty similar time to KO. He should be mid any second. She should be mid any second. KO ends up coming mid here. Now again, now I've got my Proto Belt. I just one-shot the wave. Beautiful. End up leaning to my strong side, top side, knowing that I've really got this rise ahead. Ping on my way. No. I don't even ping on my way. Then I lean top side. Beautiful. Get my ultimate down as a counter gank. Taunt. Bang. Kind of messed that up. I think I should have taunted backwards, but anyway, won't talk about the micro. Varus ends up TPing as well for some reason. Now, fast forwarding a little bit, we end up cleaning up this Echo completely fine. Now, what do we know? Ryze is dead. I know I've actually got no corrupting pots and not much health anymore. Ryze is dead. We also see that Rift Herald is up, and that is the next objective. We also see that Varus is here, and he needs to actually recall and go back bot. That's what I was thinking right now. Now, I have TP in about 50 seconds. Volibear ends up trying to chase. Now, I know in this situation, Kale's mid. Aatrox is getting chased out by Volibear, so he's going to have to recall because he's extremely low. The Echo jungle's dead right now, so I know I have plenty of time to actually get these plates. And what do we know? And I said this in the last one. I don't mind overstaying to get these first 3 plates on my own, because then once we get the Rift Herald, it can one-shot this tower. And that's very important to me in terms of pushing the pace of the game. Kills are great, but towers are what wins game. Towers win games, okay? Structures win games. So in this situation, instead of recalling, I could have quite easily recalled here and gone straight back mid. My thought process was, okay, given that Ryze is coming out of base now anyway, it's more efficient for me to stay here, get these plates, and Ryze go back mid. So I don't want to chase. There's no point in me chasing. I'd rather get these plates, then recall, rather than go straight mid here. So I get these plates, beautiful, end up using my proto belt, one-shotting the wave here, and then backing up. So I've got those 3 plates. I know he's getting the Rift Herald. I've got TP in 15 seconds, and I actually decided not to help him because I thought there's no way they're going to contest. Rise is here. We've got top wave pushed out. Echo's dead. I'm just coming out of recall, out of base now. I don't think they're gonna contest, and even if they do, my TP is coming up any second, so it's completely fine. So I thought that was a really interesting decision to not recall, because a lot of people in this situation, as soon as they're low and after that kill, they'll think, oh no, Varus can get the wave and then you can just recall and go back mid. That is another viable situation, but in that situation, Rise then would go all the way to top and probably wouldn't have enough time to get those 2 plates. They potentially would have, or maybe Volibear could have gone straight after the Rift Herald and gone top and got those plates themselves. But I just think this is a lot more efficient, because then no one would be mid for such a long time. Because I actually think that Ryze can get mid faster than me, because if I actually started my recall, what time would that be? Actually, no, I could have got mid. I could have got mid quite fast. I actually think that's quite a viable decision as well, by the way. Given that Ryze goes straight top, and they probably would have been able to get top tower anyway with Volibear and Ryze. But that's my instinct in this situation, was just to stay here. And I've done this in quite a few of these examples, where I've just stayed and told the top laner, or we know in high elo, like everyone knows that that's the right play. But in low elo, you just ping them. Ping them to go mid to catch that wave for you. And if you feel like they're not going to listen, or they're tilted, that sort of thing, then again, at least you're following the fundamentals. And as you get high elo, you'll know what the correct play is. So again, I thought this was a really interesting example. I'm hoping you guys are starting to see the trends of what I'm starting to think about when I'm looking to recall in a game. So in this example here, I'm actually playing Twisted Fate into Talon. Now, I actually take some really bad trades in the early game. I trade way too heavy with this Talon, and I know this Talon has Ignite. So what is the #1 principle? If you have TP and they have a combat spell, whether it's Exhaust or Ignite or even Ghost to a certain extent, if they think they have something that they can use in lane to kill you and you don't, you're in trouble. Okay, so when I'm heavy trading with a Talon in this situation, I have no more corrupting pots. I'm really low. If I stay in lane on low HP and trying to risk getting this wave out, I'm probably going to die. Or I don't really want to risk dying, because if Talon gets a kill on me solo, then the game's boomed. So I accept reality. Yes, it's not optimal for me. I've screwed up my early game. I'm just going to go back, get a Dark Seal, TP back, rather than just risking dying, come back with a resource advantage and stabilize this lane. It's not great because I'm not getting my Catalyst, I'm not getting a Ruby Crystal, anything like that. I just get a Dark Seal and just TP back, okay? So I want you to use this as an example. It's okay if you screw up, you have to adapt. And I always talk about Bruce Lee and Be Like Water. This is a perfect example. Don't just hold on to TP and recall when you have the perfect amount of gold. League of Legends is too chaotic. Sometimes you just have to recall, accept reality, come back, TP. And this is one of the advantages of TP in itself, is that it's a bit of an oh shit summoner. It's like, okay, I screwed up. I can still use TP to come back and stabilize the lane. Now I've come back, got full resources, 3 corrupting pots. Talon has absolutely nothing. And now what happens in a lot of the VODs I watch is that they will just stay in lane here. They're thinking, no, I haven't got the wave fully out. Isn't it really bad to recall here? You know, can't he freeze or whatever? No. Okay, I can't get the wave out perfectly. It's not a big deal. I can TP back and then I can push it out, because I don't feel safe getting this wave out right now. And what a lot of people do, they'll try and go get the wave out. Talon will flash ignite them and kill them, and it would be an absolute nightmare. So take a leaf out of my book and accept reality. Now, in the same VOD here, guys, just fast forwarding a little bit further, 9 minutes, I actually go for a bot play with Twisted Fate ult. So I go bot, get a bot kill, get some kills for my bot lane. Fast forwarding here, end up killing a lot of their team. So what do we see? Ezreal's really, really low. So instead of, in this exact same situation, instead of me recalling, even though I should be recalling here for my Rod of Ages as well, instead of recalling and going to the same standard lane assignments, this wave is in a really bad spot. This is actually going to slow push out to the enemy. So the enemy AD carry and support, as they're coming out of base, are going to be able to catch it under tower or even freeze or create a really favorable situation. And we're not going to be able to deny any CS from them, even though they just died. So what's more efficient is that the Ezreal should base, given that Ezreal has such poor wave clear. Ezreal can just go catch mid wave, and I can just continue to shove out this wave. So this is going to refresh the wave. I'm going to deny more CS, and it's going to be much better, much more efficient this way. So I end up staying. getting this next wave out, because then look, the wave would have just been stuck here. It would have been stuck here, would have froze here for a little bit. They would have denied themselves CS. It just would have been an absolute nightmare. So I end up shoving this next wave out here. Ezreal will go straight mid instead of going straight bot, and this is just more efficient for everyone involved. So I get that wave in, beautiful. Resets the wave for my bot lane, so it's not frozen or anything. And then I just recall. Ezreal really doesn't actually get anything mid because the mid wave was actually screwed up. But you can kind of see the premise here where we're doing what's best for everyone on the team rather than what's best for one of us. It is, again, it's something that will feel really uncomfortable at the start, and maybe if you're in lower elo, people will be really confused. So you may have to type or ping quickly. Go mid, catch one wave, then go bot. I'll get the wave out for you, whatever you have to say. But it is something that will become more widely accepted as the higher elo you get. So in this clip here, guys, I'm playing Kog'Maw mid into Galio. This Galio was actually duo with the enemy jungle Camille, so I was very, very scared of those early ganks. So in a second, you'll see the Camille comes mid. I'm leaning kind of onto topside, but I knew my jungle was in the area, so I tried to bait it in. I didn't flash and cleanse straight away. I tried to wait for the Camille to E in first. Galio flashes out, I believe, and we take a really, really close 2v2 skirmish and just survive and end up getting first blood onto the Camille. Now, this is a very common situation where you're playing a laner that doesn't take TP, whether it is you have to take cleanse, you have to take exhaust, ignite, barrier, whatever, and maybe you take a really close 1v1 trade or a 2v2 trade, whatever. Well, in this situation, I'm so low, I feel terrified to get this wave out. I actually didn't know in the moment if Galio flashed or not, so I didn't know if Galio could maybe flash E me or flash Q me. I wasn't sure. So, in these situations, guys, this is where you need to communicate with your jungle for them to help you shove out in order to get a very efficient recall. And it's completely fine if they take the farm. It's completely fine because it's actually more efficient or better for the game if the jungle gets the farm, because the first jungle to complete their jungle upgrade item, whether it's Warrior or Runic Echoes, whatever, is actually really much stronger than the enemy jungle, which can lead to a whole host of other positive outcomes within the game. So it's completely fine if they take a bit of CS, don't worry about that. So in this situation, my biggest mistake was, and I see this a lot, is that they don't communicate with their jungle. I don't tell my jungle to help shove out the wave, and then Galio ends up being able to get the wave out for free, end up losing it a bit of CS here because I'm not able to TP back. Ends up being a bit of a sticky situation. But again, because I was lucky, the Galio hesitated on getting the wave out. I only missed, I think, 2 creeps. So it wasn't too bad. But it could have been a lot worse. So my point is, in this situation, guys, if you want to get a good recall timing, and maybe you just come off the back of a really close 1v1, you're really low, have no flash, or it was a 2v2, get your jungle to help you shove out the wave, or even no fight happened, but you have no mana and you can't get the wave out by yourself. Maybe you're in this situation back here and I actually really low mana and I can't get the wave out. Then just tell your jungle to come on the way through. Hey, can you help me shove out mid? And after they finish getting their camp, they'll come mid. And a lot of the time, they won't mind that because they're going to share CS anyway, and it's not a big deal. So I just thought this was a really good example to highlight one of the biggest, I would say, biggest mistakes I see in the early game in a lot of VODs anyway. Now, a few minutes forward in the same game, I'm still playing Kog'Maw into Galio. I'm very, very close to my lost chapter. Now, if you're getting close to your key item spike, you need to be extremely conscious about which wave you're going to be basing on. So if you want to get a very efficient recall, if you're extremely decisive and you know, okay, this wave, if I use all my resources on the wave, it doesn't matter if I get really low or I use all my mana, as long as I get the wave out, I can get a great tempo reset. And this is exactly what it looks like. I know that if I get this wave, I can get my lost chapter. I wait for the minions to group up. I use my E. I use 2 stacks of my ultimate, end up using my ultimate again. So I use all my mana. I have no more mana left. But it's completely fine. Because look at this. I've got the wave so fast. The next wave just coming out now. I have plenty of time to recall, come back, and I go all the way back. And this guy is actually trying to find me. Look at this as well. I go all the way back here. And as the higher elo you get, the mid laners will try and chase you all the way back. Galio tries to find me, but he couldn't find me because I go all the way back. And now I get a really great tempo reset. And this is actually going to minimize the amount of time Galio is going to be able to make a proactive play. And I'm not going to miss any CS. So, guys, if there's anything you're going to take away from this VOD, that specific example is one thing that is really easy to replicate as long as you're consciously thinking about your itemization, you're thinking about your gold. And this is where understanding champion identity comes into play. Because if you're not super, you're not super definitive on which item you need or when you're really strong, then you're just going to be clearing wave after wave after wave and being reactive with your recall timings. You're not going to be proactive. And being proactive in terms of your recall timings is how you can, I guess, create more favorable situations and get yourself, or actually minimize the amount of opportunities the enemy is going to be able to get into fights or that sort of thing. And you're going to find you're going to have a lot more vision control. You're going to stay a lot more healthy in lane. And you're going to really nail all of those item spikes, or those key item spikes that is going to help you to create more opportunities within the game. Now, in this example here, I end up getting ganked by this Camille. So I get ganked, they try to engage onto me, and I end up just escaping on the back end. I end up flashing out, it's not too bad. Try to poke this Camille with my ultimate, steal some of those raptors as well, end up only stealing one. Then Silas comes in from the river, fast forwarding a little bit here, comes in, ends up killing the Camille. So in this situation, I'm thinking to myself, my initial response, well, I should probably recall right now. Yes, I can't afford my Seraphs, but I don't really have much HP. I have no pots. I have no wards. I'm in a pretty rough spot right now. But what I realized, I was thinking, okay, I have a ward here, and I see my Silas pathing topside. So I start my recall, and I'm like, I see the next wave's a cannon as well, because I was putting 2 and 2 together. I'm like, okay, the next wave's a cannon, should be not too bad. But then I see my Silas about to start the Rift Tail, so I'm thinking to myself, okay, I should probably maybe stay for one more wave, because if he wants to do Rift Tail, I should somewhat try to back him up. But what made me stay definitively is as soon as I saw that Galio move, I'm like, wait, this is a free recall timing, and this is exactly what you guys can do in your games as well. If you see the enemy take a really inefficient roam, like this, whether they roam when they haven't shoved out the wave, that sort of thing, the best response a lot of the time, as long as you can't follow, obviously, is you ping them out, you see them like this, and then you insta-shove the wave as fast as you can, and either recall, get plates, or in this situation, because I know it can get me my key item here, deny as much CS as possible. And the faster you shove out the wave, the less time the enemy's going to have to roam. And it's going to be great for you in terms of getting an efficient recall anyway. So I use all my mana on this wave, knowing that, again, I'm recalling straight after this anyway. So there's no reason to hold back in my mana usage. Get the entire wave, recall. It allows me to get my Seraphs. I don't really need to help this Silas anyway, because Galio can't link topside because he's too scared. He's only going to lean bot side. And they end up getting the Rift Herald. It ends up being a really solid recall, and really minimizing the amount of time that Galio can do anything in this lane now. So that's pretty much the last clip I wanted to show you guys. There was a lot of little clips here. I thought, I want to hear any feedback. If there's things that you want to see, specific concepts or delivery. Do you like this more natural free flow style of me riffing on some certain clips? And do you like this style of showing a lot of clips, or do you want to see more theory, more text? I don't know. Hopefully you guys found it useful. If you can take away one thing, that'd be great. Again, I'm just experimenting with different types of content. And yeah, I thought this was a really great way to get across information rather than just doing all my heavy textile stuff. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Any feedback, greatly appreciated. Cheers.